What is up, Kaiju Seekers? Welcome to today's stream. Hopefully, things are going smoothly since I was having trouble on my usual setup. Something with, or maybe not. So maybe I might switch over in a little bit if everything goes smoothly on some other ends. But welcome to today's stream. We have a few different topics we're going to talk about that I just found interesting and were very close to home for me, since we're going to be talking about probably aside from Godzilla, which everyone probably already knows about, are probably like the big three when it comes to franchises I grew up with, um, which are going to be the Predator franchise, the Alien franchise, and then the Tremors franchise. I'm sure all of those are probably some pretty big names for anyone who's a fan of horror, sci fi, creature features, stuff like that. So, when it comes to what we're going to talk about today, anyone who might want to come on later, that's going to be the topic of discussions for today's stream. And let's see, we're going to get started here in a few moments, but I want to see if I can quickly change my setup, because right now I am on my iPad and I hope there's no stream shenanigans going on for the foreseeable future. But all right, so 1 second. All right. So yeah, like I said, some of my setup has been a little bit buggy. But things seem to be going good. I have a backup just in case it looks like it'll run smoothly. But yeah, as I said, today we're going to be talking about a different assortment of things. One thing I guess we'll start off with is Predator Badlands, which had its trailer reveal not too long ago. Um, Growing up, the Predator franchise was probably one of my favorites growing up. Like I said, it was like one of the big three aside from Godzilla that I grew up with. I remember the first Predator movie, 1987. I watched that one like when I was a little kid, um, which may come to a surprise to some modern day people, but I'm sure a lot of the people within the same niche as like if you enjoy creature features, horror, stuff like that, you probably grew up on it from an early age, or at least you were exposed to it at an early age. So um, you're probably going to be used to stuff like this. Like I said, I grew up with the Predator franchise along with Alien, Tremors, all sorts of different things like that. Because one of my earliest memories is like Godzilla, so I was very familiar with the topic of monsters. And like, sure, I may have been scared of a few things, but I have no memories of like being ever really scared of these things outside of knowing that it's like a fantasy based thing, as in it's not real. It's all faked. Like the best thing I can attribute it to is like in real life, I'm very squeamish when it comes to like surgery videos, simulations, stuff like that. When it's like real things, I'm very squeamish and like agoraphobic. But when it comes to movies, I love that stuff. Like I can't get enough of like practical effects, gore, and action. That I really love. So like if I know it's not real, then like I can sort of like disassociate from the real life thing, and so it's easier to digest. But there's been lots of talk of the recent Predator design for the film, and you know, my initial thought is it looked kind of weird to me. Like he seemed very small for his size. Even compared to some of the other predators we see, because there's at least two predators we see in the trailer for Predator Badlands. And here's another shot of the poster. I forget where I got this image from, but this is like one of the official posters for the film. So we can see our main protagonist. I believe his name is Dek, Dek, and I sort of got the impression that this was like a young blood. If you're deep into the Predator lore, which I'm not that deep into, but I've seen like other videos on it. I've read only a few of the comics here and there. That was a long time ago, but like the young bloods are essentially the young male, or I think in some cases female predators, but young predators in general, who are like barely on their first hunt, which I think this is like the premise of the film. And something that we haven't seen too much of outside of comics is we're probably going to be seeing Space Marine type of action. With the Predator, which, like I said, we've only really seen that with like games, comics, and other external materials outside of the official films or any like series. Because the Predator, as we know, he's always been in like relatively modern and or past time periods. Like the earliest Predator, um, the earliest the Predator films is the recent Prey movie from like a few years ago. That one takes place like in the early like French Revolution era. I think of like America, early America. We have Native American protagonists and such. So that's like the earliest we've seen the Predator, and that was marketed as kind of like the first hunt. I forget what the actual context was. I don't think it's the first time the Predator's been to Earth, or if it was just like the first time this Predator's been to Earth. But it was marketed as like the first hunt of sorts. Um, and so, and then like the Predator takes place in like 2018, I believe, which I liked the Predator when it came out. It came out on my birthday, which maybe I have like a birthday bias because I went to see it with some friends there as well, and we all had a good time. So I have a pretty soft spot for the Predator movie, even though I know it's like much maligned in the eyes of the fan base. That tends to happen a lot with me. I can't imagine why really, but like I said, we're gonna be having the Predator set, and I want to say this is a more futuristic setting because, as stated before, it does look like it's going to be crossing over with the Alien franchise because in the trailer we do see that um, there is a Weyland-Yutani android or synthetic. Let me see if I can pull up here on the side some stuff there. Let's see, let me share the screen. Streamception going on, but yeah, if you can see that there, one of our main android characters, I think, in the film, they are a synthetic, and you can see the Weyland-Yutani logo there on her eyes, which we have seen from Alien Romulus. Andy, whenever he goes into this like reprogramming mode, we see that his eyes roll black, and they reveal the Weyland-Yutani logo. So we're probably going to be getting like the seeds of an AVP reboot of sorts because, as you see, here's a good look at the logo there. First hunt, last chance, and some context of the synopsis of the film is that this is like an outcast or like banished young blood, and he has to redeem himself through a hunt. And I think they're going to like a pretty dangerous planet, and somehow, like I don't think they're the Space Marines because it's the Weyland-Yutani Corporation, but you see scenes in the trailer where we have people with like some pretty high tech stuff. You can see even see here. There's like at first I thought it was a bus. I'm like, why is there a bus? But no, it's just like a Wade and Utani branded truck of sorts, or like a I'm not sure what exactly that is, but you can see our Youngblood predator right here. And from afar, he looks pretty bulky, but in some moments on the trailers, he does look pretty small, which, like I said, is a testament to the context of that he is a Youngblood. So it's not like he has any fresh scars or anything like that. He doesn't have any trophies on him from the looks of it. It's just like basic armor. So that sort of explains that. But like I said at the beginning, the design is very divisive, it seems. There are some people who are praising the design for being different, and others criticizing it for that. Like I said, my first impression is that it seemed very small, but with the context, I can sort of understand that. I do wish it was clear that he was still like physically different from just being a human, because something that I've been seeing online from some of my friends as well as um, different online groups is that the predator seems too human-like in this one. So it seems that people are sort of criticizing that in some ways this one feels a little too human, and from my perspective, I kind of agree with them because it feels like even if it is a young blood, like I feel like there's still been some design changes to show that it isn't just like a humanoid alien. It's like physically still stronger than most humans. Because like Arnold Schwarzenegger was like, and I know he's a bodybuilder in that, but he looked physically built better than like this young blood. So that's my first impression. And then another thing with the design that was most contested is the quote unquote hairstyle of the Youngblood character, Deck here. So my initial impression was that like his face seemed rather small and big at the same time. And for me, the thing that throws it off is the way the dreads, we're gonna call it, because I think they've been called many things, but like I initially thought that was weird because they treat it too much like hair when it's not really hair. Because in the lore, it's explained that the dreads on the predator are actually just sensory organs, because we see in some comics and external materials that whenever the dreads are damaged, they bleed. So they have like nerves and blood vessels in the dreads, so they're not like it's not like hair. Um, we've seen previous incarnations that do some sort of styling with the dreads, but nothing to the extent where it's like treated like hair. Like you're not gonna see a predator with like whatchamacallit, like buns or any sort of like intricate braiding, because that's not what the like, because it's not hair. You can't treat it like hair to the fullest extent, but you can have some pretty cool styles. I know some of the Kenner figures had some pretty out there designs that also incorporated the hair in certain ways. Um, and we saw a lot of unique things that still kept the Predator look, but didn't change the overall physiology. And of course, with the introduction of the like the Super Predator, the the upgrade Predator, and then the like hybrid predators, and then there's also the feral predator from Prey. I know that there's the caveat of having different species, um, and so we can say this is different species, maybe for the fact that the dreads they're placed way too close to the forehead, where typically when it comes to most predator species, they'll be along the back and side of the head. And it looks like for the sake of the design, they changed the physiology of the head so that it comes much more lower on the forehead. And it's sort of, I think because of that, it makes the face appear smaller and therefore more human-like, that people are saying. So, and that's something that I can take it or leave it when it comes to that. Because when I see it in motion, it does look pretty cool. But then when I like really look at it, I'm sort of thrown off by it. Because like, and this is something that I've been thinking about. Overall, I think this will probably be the case of. I think the movie's gonna have to carry, like, the narrative and the character are gonna have to carry everything for me, while I don't like the design. And I have a similar situation with minus one because I am not the I am not a fan of the minus one Godzilla design. I do not like it. A lot of it stems from it just being like a retooling. Uh, for what it's worth, I think it is a better retooling of the Ride Godzilla, which was designed by the same director, Takashi Yamazaki. And I didn't like the Ride Godzilla at all. And because it was so similar to the Ride Godzilla, I didn't like the minus one Goji. I've always said I prefer actually the Odo Island Godzilla. I prefer that one. And I wish that was more of what we saw with the mutation. Like, if either they did a better design for the mutated Godzilla, or they just, like, maybe they made the Godzilla sword or something, and then the Odo Island was what it evolved into, and it was just bigger. I think that would have been cooler, and more favorable for my tastes. But to each their own there. But like, it'll be similar thing where like I'm not 100% on board with the design. And funny enough, I've seen some other concept art. Let me see if I can find that and pull it up, because I did see some concept art that was showing essentially either I forget if it was early concept art for this design, or it also said this was something they were trying to do like from the earliest sequels. Here we go. So let me see if I can just pull that up there. And let me see. I'll put up in a second, but I did see some concept art for the design. And like I said, I'm not sure if this was either for this movie or if it was for previous movies. But they were always trying to do like this design that had the quills. Because I remember I read something that they were sort of intended to be like quills of some sort. And so they've been always trying to do the design where the quills or the dreads come like right where we're seeing it here. But my initial take was that when I saw this and compared it to what we have for deck here, I prefer the concept art over what we're getting here. And I say that because it just seems like let's see. I need to find, where did my app go? I don't know. It just seems like it's one of the cases where the concept art looks cooler than the final design, because they sort of slick back to form a specific hairstyle where you have the dreads sort of forming this long ponytail down the back with like, I guess what's supposed to be like a fade around the side of the head, and that's like interesting concept, but for the predator, because they always have that big forehead and like that sort of forms a crest. So it gives the profile of the predator. This sort of diminishes that by making the profile smaller, because the quills or the dreads are so further ahead, like in the forehead. It sort of gives like a weird hairline effect that the initial predator didn't have. So let me just try pulling up that right now. Because I think if they went with something more akin to the concept art, it probably would have been better for it. So I'm gonna get a new overlay because I just uploaded it. There we go. There you go. What's this? Right, so here we go. Yeah, so I saw this over from the Yacha Hype guy. Is this the TF Hype guy? Or is just some like copycat? But either way, you can see here there's some concept art, and I might pull up another picture. I didn't anticipate that I couldn't zoom in on this one. I'll pull up here, but you can see that they've been trying to do the quills. Let's see, the spike hairstyle trying to be in the film since '87. So I guess initially from the start there was always going to be this like hair design, but like in my opinion, the picture on the left, I don't like the way that it makes it look. It looks pretty weird to me. But the picture on the right, which I will send over as quickly as I can, I do prefer the way the picture on the right portrays it, because I think that is a pretty interesting design. And if they went with something like that, I probably would be more open to the new design. There we go. And this is for Prey. Okay, so it's for Prey. And hopefully I can find the artist. I'm sorry. Forgive me for not. I'll see if I can credit the artist later on. But here's a better image of the. So it looks like this is concept art for Prey. I don't know if you can see the little. I don't know if there's like a signature or anything on this one. But I have to see if I can credit them later in the description of the stream and whatnot. But you can see the array of the different array of the quills, and I think this looks pretty cool. It reminds me of something you would see from like the Kenner line for like any unique kind of predator, and I think that would have been something pretty cool. And even if you extended like not just like the quills popping out, but if they acted like actual like of the dreads of the predator and they like slick them back and you have that like ponytail look, but you still keep the profile because it's not like it's taking up the entire um because it forms more of a widow peak, like a widow's peak, more than what we see here with the final design. I think if they went with a more stylized approach, something like this, which is again concept art for Prey, I think it would have been a very interesting and frankly better design. Because when you look at something like this, like I think this does too much to shrink the profile of the predator's face and sort of gets in the way of like what makes the design iconic. So that's just my take. Like I said, this is something that I think the film will, like the narrative, the character, and everything else around it will carry the film for me rather than the design itself. Because like I said, I like the concept of the design. One other thing I'm just realizing right now is that the armor and the costume design is sort of like a little too cluttered or mismatched. From like it sort of looks like a regular knight. Like if it was just like a regular knight rather than being like a predator with armor, because like you don't see the netting, which like in some aspects of the lore, the fishnets around the body are what help with the cloaking. I actually own a piece of the of Scar's um, netting from AVP, um, which brings us, I guess, something we'll talk about now is Alien Earth. Alien Earth just released a new trailer for it, and it does look pretty interesting. It starts off with let me see if I can just pull up the trailer right now. Maybe I'll do a reaction to it. But let's see, YouTube, boom. And so now we'll just see here. But yeah, Alien Earth released a new trailer. Or is it the trailer? I'm not. Was it the trailer? Hmm. Actually, I'm trying to wonder what I saw here, because what is this? Because I'm not seeing anyone else talk about it. Or well, maybe it is, because Joe Blow has the trailer here. Maybe we'll see what Joe Blow has. Okay, let's see here. Let me share again. We'll do a little bit of a. Let's see. We'll do a little bit of a sharing here. Present, share screen. There you go. Go full screen, and I'll do a little bit of pausing, but yeah, we see here. I'm not hearing anything from the audio, so stop sharing. Let me see here. Oh well. The room. I don't know what the official room is called, but he's typing here, and then there's someone in the background, and then we have her here.
It's coming! Let me in!
And there's like the mother speaking for the status of the crew, and then we see that she gets hammered by the alien. And I know in one of the teasers, it appears like there was something else that escaped from the pod, and like I don't know. There's some confusion on whether or not it was a facehugger, a xenomorph, or something else. Because I remember, I think it was like Mr. H Reviews analyzed it or went through it, and like we can see that it was clearly something else. So I'm wondering if the xenomorph is like not the only threat. Coming through, and I think this is going to be one of our protagonists of the film. And so I'm wondering, with the connections that we're seeing in Predator Badlands, I wonder if this film is going to have more of a connection through, like, connecting back to the, like, Alien franchise, and then this connects back to those films, because I don't know what the situation is with all the stuff there, but yeah, if you guys all saw that. But yeah, so Alien Earth is coming here, and then we have Badlands. We also have the Predator Killer of Killers, which is coming out, which is like an anthology of Predator film. Or it's one film, I believe, with 3 stories. So that's going to be pretty interesting to see, because it looks like, I'm wondering if it's one of the studios that did work on Love, Death, and Robots, because the style looks familiar to some of the shorts that you can find there. And so I'm wondering if they did some work on that, because let's see here, present screen. Yeah, so as you can see, there's the Killer of Killers poster here. It's going to take place in 3 different time periods. There is the World War II one, which you can see the dog tags there. There is the Viking era with the shield, and then like the Edo period with the samurai sword. So yeah, there's going to be some different ones. And looking at some of the designs here, this one I find a little interesting, because it appears like it's going to be like a shaven Predator. Like, I'm wondering if you can see where he cut off some of his quills there. And like, it's kind of weird again, because they're treating it like hair, where you can just shave it off. And like, and I know there's like similar things like we do for aesthetical reasons, but to me it's too much like cutting off fingers or something, because like these are a part of their bodies. It's not like hair, where, and I guess they don't grow back. His face looks cool. I like the face. If like his nose or something, they don't have noses, but like they got broken or something. His eye patch, so that's kind of cool. I like that guy. I don't know about the quills, like, or I don't know, maybe it's battle damage rather than sex, but and we'll see if there's any context to it. But then there's this guy, this big old Predator. I'm pretty sure it's from the Viking story. And like I know there's some discussion on whether or not he was like just a beefed up predator or if it was like an upgrade predator. I think this is him with the mask. And there's also some discussion online because they're both Predator Badlands and um, Predator Badlands and both Predator um, Killers are going to be looked over by the same guy who did the Prey, same director. So if they were making like connections with the way the mask and the way the Mandible show, which is its own thing, because from my understanding, the point of the mask was to help him breathe outside of the aesthetics and like the culture of the predator. It also helps him breathe because we see whenever the predator takes off his mask, he usually has a backup breathing device that he only uses when he doesn't have the mask. So the point of the mask was to help him breathe because they don't breathe earth air. So like having masks that don't have like the where they guard the mandibles in the mouth is just weird to me. Like sure it can look cool, but there's like lore reasons why they don't do that, from my understanding. And I know there's other variants that I think do something similar, but I think for the sake of like the main lore, like you should probably keep to what we know. Because like I said, from the other movies, I remember when Predator 2 showed this off more specifically, that the point of the mask is to help them breathe because they also have a backup device whenever they lose the mask. So there's that. But it's cool. There's another Predator. I'm wondering if we can find it here. That's for the Samurai era. That one I think looks a little weird too. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about some of these new Predator designs. It's hit or miss with some of them. I'm seeing images of the Predator killer suit. I actually really like that, and I wish we saw it in more stuff because like I said, I really liked the Predator. I thought it was pretty cool. But yeah, there's some protagonists there. See if I can find any of the other Predators because there's the World War II one was the one with the eye patch. This is the one for the Vikings, which makes kind of sense because like there's also some beefed up Vikings, and so let's see here. I'm not finding the one from the Samurai era. That one had a pretty weird mask too, from what I saw in the trailer. Let me see if I can't find the trailer because let me see. Where's the audio going? Let me see here. So I'm gonna try to find the other one, but so there's that for Alien and Predator. So I guess we'll go move on to Tremors, and this is probably my favorite of the big three that I grew up on. Because Tremors is one of those where, like, the movie itself is one of my top four movies, like, of all time. Next to, like, Godzilla 98, Land Before Time, and then Tokyo Godfathers, Tremors is up there. And, like, Godzilla and Tremors fill that niche of, like, awesome monster creature features. And so, like, and then this is the reason I bring this up is because there's been some recent news not too long ago where apparently the Tremors creators have won the rights back to the OG script, as it says here. They're exploring a return to perfection sequel along with two other outlandish ideas. We'll talk about that more later. And then Kevin Bacon wants to return, and they're considering ideas to bring him back. Now, there's a few things we need to dive into, but first, let me just talk about like the overall series and how I feel about it. So, like I said, I love the first movie. Great creature feature. Great movie. Great characters, iconic, and then rest in peace, Fred Ward, because I was very saddened by the news of his passing. it's just very sad because like personally, I always knew him from Tremors. I haven't watched many of his other films, but he was a very prolific actor, in his own right, and he had a big influence on the Tremors franchise because he was outside of Bert, he was like and like Miguel, I believe. He was like one of the only other because there's a few returning characters, but Fred Ward was like he came back for the first two, um, and he was outstanding. And like I think it was great that he got his own movie because Fred Ward was like you could say he is the like lead role for Tremors 2, Aftershock, which again is a great movie, great sequel. I think it perfectly follows up on like exploring the different things, um, where you can launch off from when it comes to the graboid and such. Um, and then when it comes to Tremors 3, I like it, but I don't think it's as great as the first two. Um, it And like it starts the trend we saw with all these movies going forward that Burt Gummer was going to be the main star of the show or the franchise, because he was a big part or like a big side character, a very popular one from the looks of it because he came back for the second one, and both films he's pretty great. Like he's that doomsday prepper type of guy, um, which I love, and it was a contrast to what people knew him as at the time. He was in that One Family sitcom, um, so it's a pretty good range for that guy. And he's still doing lots of stuff for the Tremors franchise as became like the main star. Um, and the third film really cemented that with him being like the main person that like he's the guy who's been through it, and then there's a new cast of characters going on. And so that comes back to the fourth one, which is also the fourth one. I think was a great comeback because it's a prequel that sort of sets up the town perfection. It also sets up, weirdly enough, the ancestry of Burt Gummer with his ancestor, like his great 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 grandfather or something like that. And that's really cool and neat. I actually liked it for it, and it's again cementing the character of Burt Gummer in the franchise, and it's really good because it's like a back to basics type of movie where you go back to like the first one, but also introduces new things like the like beginning stages of the life cycle of the graboids, where we see the eggs. They start off as babies, they start to grow. We see a similar thing where the characters think it's something until it gets revealed to be something else, which is like the first movie does, and then the second movie does that too. They also have to do that tread, but it's a nice fresh take for a back to basics kind of thing where like the filmmakers describe it as like the rules of a vampire movie, but it's interesting to see how the characters learn the rules throughout any other movie. And this brings us into talking about actually no. So before we go into like the stuff that I don't really like when it comes to the Tremors franchise, one thing I also really liked that I thought was really good was the series of Tremors, um, the show, the live action show. And that is something I don't really see talk about a lot in Tremor circles. Not that I like delve too deep into them, but it's not something I see very much talked about. And the show is really good. I've talked about it with a few of my friends, and described it to them as it's like like a hype kind of way to say is like seeing the town perfection. It takes place like after the third film, so there's some leftovers from that and callbacks to like the movies and the other material, mostly just the movies because that was all there was really at the time. Um, but there are callbacks to different movies when they return. But there's also different situations and different monsters. So it's like a monster of the week kind of show, and then sometimes you'll see the graboid El Blanco, which was set up in the third movie, which is like one of the sterile graboids that we see um, come back up. Is like he fights the other monsters at times. Now it's nothing like it's not like the Jurassic Park or Jurassic World movies where they have this big old fight, but they have encounters and then they affect one another, and sometimes they do fight, which is interesting. And so and sometimes there's like other threats too. And something that I want to bring up is um, there was a while ago there was a plan to reboot the Tremors franchise. So and like there's a lot of like I don't know what there is about it, but let me see if I can pull it up because there's a pilot that was filmed because they have a trailer for it that came out and it was really well received from what I know. People were raving about it, but it never went anywhere. And Kevin Bacon came back for it. So, Tremors reboots show. Let me see if that brings up anything new. But like, if you remember, there's a pretty iconic scene that everyone talked about, which was this. And this was something that I would say it turned a few people's heads because this isn't like a graboid proper, but when it comes to the context we were given in later synopsis and such, this was likely a result of the Mixmaster chemical, which, if you remember from the show, as I was mentioning, there was a plot line about a secret government organization that developed this chemical that's like a CRISPR gene editing thing where it combines different aspects of animals, plants, flora, fauna, stuff like that to create new organisms. And this is what's probably going to be a result of it. Like maybe graboid DNA combines with other stuff to make this thing, which I would have been down for. It is something new, and if it was going to follow up on the Mixmaster stuff, that would have been really interesting. Like I forget if it said it was going to like because same thing with some other franchises like Godzilla to call back. It'll probably have some things in canon versus others, but I think you could have easily just had it be part of the other canon. So I think Val, Kevin Bacon's character, was the only one who was returning for this film. Um, as you can see here, he's old, disgruntled. He's like that, like fallen hero or something, like the hero with no battle or what you call it. So this is like a scene from that show or that pilot. And let's see if there's anything else here. Or maybe I'll just pull up the pilot because, yeah, like there's this image of like a hole in the ground. That's one of the characters. And then here's another image of Val. Kevin Bacon and all the other actors are older now. And he's still doing some cool stuff. I know he just came out with a recent show. I think it was what was it, like the Debt Collector or something? And there's another image of that worm thing. But yeah, there was going to be a reboot show. Now here's an image of the original show. And there's this weird, I don't know, like it looks like one of the tongues from one of the grabbers from the graboids. But yeah, like Bert was there. There's some other characters. And it was really cool. It's a good show. I recommend you. What I do heavily recommend is you get this. The Ultimate Collection has the 7 movies, which I don't know. I guess I can talk about it now. I do not like the recent trilogy of the Tremors movies, and this sort of either way, I recommend you get the Ultimate Collection because it has the 7 movies. If you like those or not, it has the original ones, which are good, and the series, the complete series, which is really cool. I always find it funny that they always show the worm or the tongue, and like in the background there, you can see there's like a big tongue that's trying to grab at the people on the water tower. And it's weird because like you would think people imagine this is what the worms look like as that size, and this is sort of like encompassing that, which is neat. But I did not like the recent trilogy. For one thing, it doesn't use that much practical effects, and it heavily changes the designs of the worms in a ways that I don't think are good or I don't like them. Like I think the most egregious one is like here, like the ass blasters. Like they just don't look like ass blasters in any sense of the word. They just look like generic, like Doom video game villain demons. Like there's not really anything that signals like ass blasters. Because like if they made a Doom movie and this thing popped up, I think like, oh, that's a neat demon design, but it's not a Tremors design. Um, and then, because if you look at, yeah, because look, this is a pretty iconic design. Like the ass blasters, that's pretty iconic, I'd say. So let's see here. And then the graboid, I think it looks pretty cool for what it is. I just wish there was more practical stuff. Oh, here's one of the monsters from the Tremors series. This is a pretty cool guy. This guy fights kind of fights the. Well, I don't want to spoil anything, but I recommend you watch the series and give Tremors some love, because hopefully something gets back. And just to return to the original thing here. So right, so exploring two other outlandish ideas. So this kind of gives me some concern, but also some hope. Because what I would hope happens when it comes to outlandish is calling back to the Mixmaster plotline. Christopher Lloyd, I believe, who plays the Doc in the Back to the Future movies, is in the show. He's a recurring character. So maybe they'll bring him back too. That'd be pretty cool. But yeah, I hope they would do stuff with that, because there were parts of the show that didn't even have the graboids involved. Um, and it was just like the new monster of the week, like I said. But they were good episodes, and it's sort of like, and it's part of the Mixmaster plotline. So I'm hoping there's something like that where we have Val. If Kevin Bacon, I hope Kevin Bacon's come back. If he came back for the pilot and he said he would love to come back, I'm sure Kevin Bacon would. I would hope so, and I believe so. I believe he would come back for a reboot if he came back for the pilot at all. And he, to this day, he says he would love to come back to the character. So I would say if they do make a reboot, I'm sure they would want him to, and I'm sure Kevin Bacon would oblige. But hopefully we can see Val taking on some of the Mixmaster stuff. And, I'm sure, well, you would have to decanonize, which I am completely fine with. I am completely fine with decanonizing the reboot trilogy, I'll call it, since it's sort of like a continuation of the original. But since I don't think those are up to par with some of the other Tremors stuff we've seen, I would have no problem doing it so that we can bring Burt Gummer back. Because spoiler alert for anyone, at the end of the trilogy, Burt Gummer does die to Graboid, and so Burt Gummer's dead in that timeline. But hopefully we can decanonize it and bring back Burt, so we can have Burt and Val, who had a pretty interesting chemistry in the first movie because they sort of butt heads. So it would be cool to see something like that. It's different from the way like Burt has been with other characters, even going back to like Fred Ward's relationship with him, like Earl in the sequel, which they were more friendly in the sequel. Which I'm sure they would be friendly, but there's still that tension of like they never really liked each other in certain ways, but they still have that camaraderie of. I like that there's like a graboid tattoo on Val's shoulder there. That's pretty cool. I should get that. I want that now, actually. Now that I think about it, I want a graboid tattoo. That'll probably be one of my next ones. But yeah, like I said, very interesting. I hope they don't go too far. One thing I will say that I will give credit for is I like the idea and the premise of the trilogy, where like in the first one of the sequel trilogy, they go to Africa because there's African variants of the graboids, which I think is a cool idea. Like I said, I kind of like the graboid design, to where they're bigger, buffer, stuff like that. And they have some new tricks, which I really liked, but I would have designed them a little differently, which I think was too far. Because it sort of acts like a regular Tremors movie with some cool twists. I think were good, but could have been executed better and just designed better. And same goes for most of the other movies. I mean, I just wish they looked better. They were made better. I don't think any of them hold a candle to either of. I don't even think they hold a candle to the third movie. The third movie was better than anything from the sequel trilogy. Which, ironically, I think they were all done by the same guy. If I'm misremembering, correct me, please. But pretty sure they were all done by the same guy. So I'm hoping that we get to see more stuff like the series where they just explore different avenues of the universe. Because I think if you have a universe where you have monsters in it, you can sort of go different places. Like you can have bioengineered monsters, you can have space monsters. You just take it in different directions. Boom. First movie, because like there you go, Fred Ward there. Let's see, the worms have turned, which is a really interesting tagline because it really, it goes to show that innovation. I think every movie innovated in a certain way. I just wish some innovations were better than others, but um, yeah. So there's that. We covered just about everything we're talking about. So outside of anything further to do, unless any of my fellow friends and content creators want to join in, maybe talk about any one of these things. I'll share some other stuff too because let's see. Those are my general thoughts on the big three making their returns. So hopefully we see more with Tremors. I desperately want, if anyone has any information on where we can find that pilot, I desperately urge you to share it with me and everyone because I want to see that pilot. Like, man, I just think it would be so cool to see Val back in action. I think it looked promising. It looked really promising. If anyone has any takes or inquiries, leave them down below in the comments or share with me on Twitter. I'm gonna do some sharing. I didn't share before. Maybe we'll have a better turnout. But let's see here. But yeah, let me know, schmoes, because we got some things going on. Let me just see if I can. Let's see, Friday hour. Although, let's see, I'll just share the image. But let's see, let's go back in. But yeah, because like Tremors, I think is a franchise that has always been pretty. It dives deep into that sci-fi creature feature type of thing, where each movie sort of harkens back to a certain vibe of like the classic, because the original Tremors was going off of that 50s creature vibe. So each film sort of has that same thing where because like there weren't many franchises back in the 50s for monster movies outside of things like Godzilla and such. At least in American sense, because everything was either, if it wasn't a show, it was just a one-off movie. Because like sequels are pretty rare. There wasn't like a sequel to The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms. There wasn't a sequel to like Earth versus the Flying Saucers or 20 Million Miles to Earth or anything. They never really made franchises there. And like if you look at King Kong got a sequel right off the bat, but that's because they wanted to go on the hype of Kong, and it sort of fell through in a way. It wasn't as successful. And but Tremors innovated in that sort of way. It sucks that the movie initially flopped, because if you know your Tremors lore in terms of like the real world history, the movie did flop, but it did succeed in home video, and that's where it went on to gain much acclaim in the home video market. Like each of the sequels were direct to DVD, but they were all pretty successful. I mean, if they kept making them, it makes sense that we would see more from this franchise, and I think it would do well on a streaming platform if they do a new series and like they just made all the episodes. Because like I said, I really want to see that pilot that got like it was just never picked up. I don't think it was canceled in any sense, but the pilot just never got picked up. It was supposed to go sci-fi, I think, which I think it would have. Well, maybe I don't know how much people really talk about sci-fi these days, but as in the channel sci-fi. But I think if it went on there, probably would have made sense and done pretty well. It's hard to speculate on this kind of thing, but like I think it would have done well. I think there's a very big cult following for Tremors and other horror franchises like that. Because if you look at it now, Friday the 13th, I think also announced it's getting a series, focusing on, people might knock it for it, but it's focusing on Pamela Voorhees, which, the original movie was about Pamela Voorhees. So it's not like it's out of left field. The reboot movie from 2009, I believe, also had some, it had Pamela in the beginning. So like it's not like she's like a nothing character. She's very important to the, and further down the line, this could set up, a new Jason focused series or movie, which I think would be pretty cool. So hopefully we do get to see more of that because I think something like this would be very successful. I think if Netflix picked it up or any other like sci-fi related, like maybe Shudder. Like I don't know much about Shudder, the streaming platform, but like I think it would make sense for them to pick it up since I know they do a lot of horror focused stuff. I think it would fit right in. Because like I'm not sure how successful the original show. I think it was, but it was also one of those things where, for some reason, episodes were shown out of order for the priority of what they thought were the bigger plot lines. So I think that sort of hampered it down. Same thing happened with Godzilla's series. They showed some episodes out of order, or they never even released some episodes, and that's a weird thing to hear with shows. Like comment down below if there's any shows that has something like that where like the executives did something that hampered the effectiveness or popularity of the show. Like they showed episodes out of order, or they never even aired any certain episodes because they didn't think they would do as well. And let me know what you think of Tremors. Like, do you think they should come back? Um, or like, are you excited for any of the comebacks that are coming? Because like, hopefully Kevin Bacon comes back. I'm pretty sure he will. Like I said. And then there's also, like I said, this is stream focusing on the big three, like Alien, Predator. They're all coming back. So maybe this is like a revolution for shows of horror franchises that have been not forgotten. Because I mean, we've had Predator movies, but like we had The Predator, but like I said, not many people really like The Predator. I did. It came out on my birthday, like I said, so I have that association with it. But yeah, like Alien, we had Alien Romulus. That was pretty well received with some negative criticism towards it. I know some people in the sphere of Alien didn't really like that. It harkened a little too much back to certain other movies. I personally don't mind it. I really like Alien Romulus. Excuse me. For the most part, I did like the prequel movies, as in Prometheus and Covenant. I like them for different reasons. I do not associate them with the Alien movies. I think they're their own thing or their own part of the Alien universe that I hope we don't have to rely too much on, because I know Ridley Scott really wanting to focus on that. And I think he should get his trilogy. Like, give him the third film in that movie where they like complete the David stuff. Because for what it is, I thought it was neat and interesting. I think it's like androids featuring the xenomorph or something like that. Because I think for what it is, it's sort of like it sort of screws up the alien timeline. And like given that they're also going to be, because like Predator Badlands is going to be featuring Weyland Yutani elements. Like I said at the beginning, like we're probably going to be seeing because it's obvious setup for an AVP stuff. Because if you have Weyland Yutani in a Predator property, like the obvious end goal is AVP. Speaking to the first two AVP films, or like the only two AVP films, I really like the first one. It's a favorite of mine. I think for what it is, it's a pretty good crossover of the Alien and Predator franchises. I know people harp on it because it focuses on humans we don't like. I don't think that matters. I mean, I think any, I think any of these properties can have human characters. Like I know people want Space Marines, which it looks like we're gonna get because it looks like that. Like I said, Predator Badlands, I think will have some aspect of like they probably won't be the Space Marines, but they'll probably be the closest thing, which is like whatever security team Wade and Utani hires is probably going to be like the stand-in for the Space Marines, but not the Space Marines proper. Because we see scenes where the Predator is like engaging with them, or the I guess the Wade and Utani Corporation is looking for the Predator. Given we see the android and the Predator, I think they team up or something that we see in the trailer. So I anticipate we'll be seeing a little bit of that for the future, and so maybe that'll get like we'll finally get the Space Marines versus the Predator versus the Alien, and maybe Alien Earth might be pitching in on that, considering in Alien Earth we see that they're bringing the specimens to Earth, as the title implies. We see that I don't know how much time we're going to be spending with the crew because from the trailer we saw that uh, I'm assuming it's probably an android we saw in the mother room with Mother, and they were showing that the I assume because you always associate that kind of thing with an android. And he's saying like the crew is dead when clearly there's still some crew alive, and we clearly see it's a xenomorph that escaped. But in one of the original teasers, um, we saw that it was something else. I think there is something else aboard that ship, and maybe it might have something to do with how it crosses over with the new Predator. Maybe even the film, and maybe even the show. And if you watch the trailer for Badlands, in the trophy room, we don't see any xenomorph skull, but we do see, I think, either a harvester or one of the aliens from War of the Worlds. So it's either the harvester from Independence Day or it's the aliens from War of the Worlds because they both have that head shape, which Steven Spielberg stole from Roland Emmerich for a change. Low key. But yeah, there's that. So big things are happening with like all three of these beloved franchises. Like I doubt we'll be seeing Tremors versus Alien versus Predator, but that would be cool. And like for me, I grew up on these franchises for as long as I can remember. For as long as I love Godzilla, I also love these properties. I was a little kid, watching these movies, and some people that might be strange, letting your kid watch horror movies. I think it's a fine thing, so long as you regulate it, which it was for me. Like I remember my parents were pretty wary of like they didn't let me watch any of the Friday the 13th movies till I was a certain age. Um, like for the longest time, I never watched like Freddy the versus Jason in full. Like until recently, I want to say. Like I probably watched it. I would watch the scenes of them fighting with my friends over and over again because I just love Jason. Like that's probably one of my favorite proper horror movie franchises. Is the Friday the 13th films, which some of them actually I think I've watched all of them to their extent. For the most part, uh, I do have the DVD sets, so I've watched them there. I've watched all of the other like Freddy versus Jason. I watched Jason X. I don't think I've ever watched Jason Goes to Hell in full, just because like I pretty much watched it in terms of I watched Cinemassacre's review on them. I've watched every other review on them. I pretty much know how the whole movie plays out. Um, but I've never watched it in full just because I don't know. It just didn't seem that appealing to me. It sort of takes it in a weird way, where it goes a little too like Evil Dead for the detriment. Oh, I just saw something from Anime Jungle. I'm gonna see what they got. Shout out. Ugh. never mind. It's like expensive figure, but shout out to Anime Jungle. As I've reported before, the Godzilla store does. They told me this. Okay, they told me that the Godzilla store is returning, and it's gonna be bigger and better than before. So if you're a fan of Godzilla and you live in the local LA area, um, if you live next to the Little Tokyo district, go check out Anime Jungle there because they will be doing the Godzilla Day celebration again. From the looks of it, and they've told me that they're gonna do it a bigger event. Um, they're gonna do it for a prolonged period because before it was like a 3 week period or so, and now they're gonna extend it to the whole month of November, from what they told me. And if you want to meet me there, I'll be there. So yeah, go check it out if you're ever in the local LA area in the month of November. Check it out because it was really fun the last time. You can watch my stream where I talked about some of the stuff that went down during my time working there. And I didn't see many people talk to it. I've been trying to reach out to D-Man to like let him know about it. So hopefully he can give some publicity to that event that's coming up. Because those guys at Jungle, they are awesome dudes and people. And like I said, if anyone has any questions about any of the stuff we're covering, leave them down below in the comments. If you have any takes, because I know there's been like actually both the Predator and the Alien design, I've seen some divisiveness towards it. My take on the Alien, specifically from what we've seen, because we know there's a practical suit. There's some shots of the trailers and like teasers of a physical suit. I think there's probably different ones because the one for the initial teaser, I think it's just like a like a display suit. But we see that the features on that suit were consistent with everything we've seen so far. And one thing that has been pretty contentious or divisive is specifically with the lips. The lips of the alien look to be pretty fat, or like the space between the dome and the lips is like pretty wide. And even I think it's a little weird. Although it's not like lips on an alien have never been weird before. I mean, all the aliens have, well, some of them got rid of the lips, but like Alien 3 is the one that had like the full on lips. And then you saw it too in the original Alien, it had lips. But like the weird gap between the lip and the dome where that ends is pretty wide, and maybe it's a similar thing to the dreads of the of Deck here, because I mean like the space between the frills, or the quills and the forehead, like I don't know. Like I said, it makes it look weird. If you look at the concept art for Prey, I think they pull off the look way better for having like more quills on the head. Something like that, I think, would have been better. If you have any thoughts on that, leave them down below, and we'll talk about it. See it, mates. Copy, haha. I had copied it before. All right, let's see here. All right. Back to what I was saying before, but like, I don't know if this is just me rambling on, but all of the franchises are close to my heart. I look forward to whatever's coming. I'm glad it's getting out there. I'm sure there's going to be some divisiveness. If I know anything from being in the Godzilla franchise and all the talk that's been happening lately in there, there's going to be a lot to talk about. A lot of people talking about certain things and a lot of people disagreeing on certain things because if it's one thing in fandoms, when you have more content to consume, it's more content to disagree on. And my take on that is that I think healthy discussion is necessary for any franchise to survive for a prolonged period of time. But we gotta keep it to a point where we keep the discussions solely revolving around the property themselves and not the people who enjoy the property. Because as you've seen some of my other colleagues and friends discuss on things like fandoms, gatekeeping, and such, I agree that it's important that we use gatekeeping in a way to where we keep out individuals who are clearly, well, at least from what I understand, it's like the point. It's like we gatekeep individuals who, um, like, are clearly disrespectful of others in the franchise, and that we keep a community like prospering through like healthy discussion and enjoyment. Because I think having disagreements on any property is inevitable. But one thing we should always like keep in mind is that like we shouldn't ever get to the point where we are throwing insults at people um, for disagreeing on fictional, properties. Because like if you disagree that a character can be another character, like it should always be a fun discussion. And like trash talking is fine, but like directly insulting, um, someone for having that like fictional opinion on fictional people, like we shouldn't like insult them personally for it, and we shouldn't take it personally either. Because one thing I think that's been shown through things like for me GXK is a lot of people are taking the criticisms of GXK too personally and as an insult to their tastes, which is why there's such a harsh defense, or there's like a harsh minority of people who vocal but minor. Because anyone who knows me knows that I love GXK. I acknowledge the flaws that people see in it. I disagree that some of those things are flaws. I can point out certain things like certain narrative, maybe through lines there aren't presented to the fullest, which is to say that I think that what they did was good, but could have been done better. But I don't fault it for not being better. Is a way that I go about it. Um, I view it in a similar way as judging a fish for not being able to climb up a tree, um, or judging a fish for not climbing up a tree when it can. But I'm not gonna do that because if it doesn't want to climb the tree, why make it? You know. Maybe those two analogies are just how I view things, but like don't take things personally, because I already see online people are taking the criticism of not liking the hairstyle of the predator um, a certain way, and they're taking the design in a certain way which I do not inherently agree with, um, solely for the fact that I think it's attacking identities and people in a disrespectful manner that does not benefit healthy discussion. Um, because like I have my maybe nitpicks, because like I said, I don't like -1. Um, I don't like the -1 Godzilla design, but I love -1 the movie, the narrative and all the story beats and the writing carry that film for me, so that I don't get bothered by the design. And in a similar way, I anticipate and hope that the film itself is carried by everything else around it outside of the design, which I can uh, neither here nor there. I wish things were done differently for it, but I don't fault it entirely because from everything else I saw, I look forward to what's to come. Um, I hope there's some changes because again, he's a young blood, so he can grow into some things and change. So there's still room for some changes, which I think will be for the better. Some of the other predators look pretty cool. I think it is indicative of the way the dreads are, because if you look at the dreads of the typical predators we've seen, the standard predators, which you've seen from like movies 1, 2, we had one of the standard predators in 3, and then we have I forget what they're actually called. I think the berserker predator is just like the name of the main one, but their quills are different, so you can sort of differentiate by species. And the feral predator from prey was a similar way, where its quills were thinner, more loose, and we sort of see that with some of these predators we're seeing. So maybe they're like another variant. Because I know there's like Yautja Prime, which is like the main predator homeworld. I forget if like the feral predator was either from a region of Yautja Prime, or if it was like another planet entirely, which it's a little weird. Like unless it's like colonial predators go to like another planet and then they evolve from there. Um, but I think just having one planet with different Yautja species is a pretty cool idea on its own, considering it's much like how humans are. What's that? Let's see. Let me scroll through more. Anything else in the news? Let's see what people are talking about. Just like I was saying, it's awesome to see all these franchises come together and continue to grow. But like we need to have more healthy discussion. Let's see. Oh, this is interesting. I'm already seeing some edits for the Predator coming along, which looks kind of cool. Let's see if we can see. Let's see if we can see where they're coming from, because let's see. Da, 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 da. Gonna put that into my OneDrive. Boom. Now let's pull it up here, because I think it's interesting. Open. Boom. So if you look at this edit here, we can see Deck how he is in the film on the left. On the right is another edit from this guy right here, which there's pretty cool editing there. So like I said, like you can see on the right, the profile of the Predator is like still there. But they just moved the dreads into the proper places. Because like I was saying, since you move the dreads to closer to the forehead, it sort of shrinks the profile of like the typical Predator we know. But if you were to like do like the widow's peak we saw in the concept art for Prey, I think you could have had something in between. Because like if you have the quills in that arrangement, and even if you extend them down to make like a ponytail that drips down, you can still have that profile. And because this isn't really sharpening to anything, like it's just like a bundle there that you do typically see in a regular like a ponytail side cut fades and that hairstyle that they were going for, which I know was described in like a Viking kind of way. I saw some people likening it to that, and even like I think the directors themselves pointed to like Viking aesthetics for inspiration. But was there anything? Yeah, there's some changes I think done to the face as well, because I saw also some people criticizing the arrangement of the mandibles, which I don't think applies inherently because it looks like it's all going to be CG. Which a problem with the Predator, some of the movies, they mold the faces like this, where they're open, so that when they close, the flaps tend to be a little loose. That's a problem you see, like I think starting from Predators through the APP films and so on. For here, I don't think it'll happen because from what I know, I think it's mostly CGI. It's not like Prey where they had a mechanical, practical head that was augmented with CGI, which I wish it was never was because I think the head for that looked really good all on its own. But yeah, I think like this is a better look than what we're getting with the design in the film. Which it looks like. I don't know if it's just me, but this sort of feels like a TV production, and I don't want to say it's a bad, but I hope that because it also I think it was also filmed or it's going to be IMAX. It's going to be IMAX. I think Jay said it was filmed. I don't know if it was filmed for IMAX or it's just going to be in IMAX, but um, yeah. But like I said, this edit here I think is really interesting because it sort of shows. Like my gripes with it is just that it makes the face look a little too small, or like the profile looks too small. I think if they sharpened the widow's peak and had the clothes going in a little bit of a different arrangement, it would have worked better. Um, but like I said, it's neither here nor there. I can take it or leave it. There's some things I like about it. Like when I see it in the trailer, um, I think it looks pretty cool. Like let's see, I'll pull up the trailer. Predator Badlands. Predator. Let's see. Can I pull it up here? Predator Badlands. Because like when I see him moving, I think it looks cool. What I see is cool. Let's see. I will share my screen. Let me know if you're here. Let me know if you can hear the audio from this. I'm not so sure I can hear the audio. Trophy room, like I said, I think the locust or the harvester alien is like in the middle. Either that or it's the either that or it's the what's it called? World of the Worlds. Like when I see him there, he looks pretty cool. Although that's a pretty cool design. I like that design.
You're hunting something.
This is a pretty cool shot.
Build.
That's cool. And when I see him in motion, like that looks pretty cool. Let's see. Like that looks. Oh, whoops! I forgot to hide that thing. But yeah, that looks pretty cool. Here obviously CG. Because like CG has that CG feel, but like I said, I could take it or leave it. I don't think it's too bad. It does make like I said, it makes the profile of the face look a little weird. I think if they like stylized it more and really went for that widow's peak, like you saw in the concept art, and similar to like the eye patch predator from Killer of Killers, like I think it's just weird because they're treating it like hair when it's not hair; they're sensory organs. Which I'm not here. This shot is pretty cool. Stuff like that. Like that's cool. I like that. But when he moves here, like this is not knocking the performance or anything, but it just moves too much like a guy. Like, it just looks like a guy. Like when you see the predators move, there's like an art to it. And like Like there's like this heaviness to it. There's just like there's just this specific movement that we see in all the films, and seeing him move like that sort of kind of looks, because I do like it in some ways, but again, like he sort of moves too much, just like a guy. Like he's just a guy, and I get that he's small. He's a young blood, like I said, but I don't know. It just feels off in certain ways, but I do like it in other ways. So I'll say I'm in the middle. I can take it or leave it. I'm not too mad at the design. Like I don't think it's the worst design. Like I think there's some other designs in the expanded lore that I don't like more than this one. But yeah, let's see here. Let's see. I'll do a post on Twitter. If anyone wants to join in on the stream. Like I said, if anyone has any thoughts on anything seen so far, let me know. We'll discuss it. I'll give my takes. Let's see here. And then I also want to plan an upcoming stream where I'm going to be talking about comparing the Minecraft movie, because I did watch that not too long ago. I have some thoughts on it. And then, oh my god. I'm sure this is just for the memes, but there's a petition to bring back Junkie XL to the score of Godzilla Kong 3. And I guess we'll talk about some other MonsterVerse news, because they did just announce earlier in the week, they announced Sam Neill was coming to the MonsterVerse. And then they just announced the composer, which is the composer returning from Kong Skull Island. And there's there's even some like discussion on that, because they think, because from his track record, like even though there is some Skull Island stuff there, some people are saying it's sort of similar, the same situation with Junkie, to where it's sort of like mid music that this guy's track record seems to show, but we see there's still some discussions. Like I think there's some people who are looking forward to it, because the Skull Island soundtrack, from what I remember, it was pretty good. There were some iconic riffs there. I wouldn't say anything as iconic as Junkies, but it's neither here nor there. Let's see. There's a Predator. There's going to be a Predator kills the Marvel Universe. Interesting. There's lots of crossovers with Godzilla and Marvel and DC, which I guess is a sign of the times when it comes to franchises, when you cross over so much with a lot of things. They also announced Kelly Port, who will supervise the visual effects for GXK3. His previous titles include Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen, which everyone seems to be really hyped about. It includes Thor, which Thor was cool. I can't remember anything stand out, but I only watched it one other time. I like Thor. That was pretty good. The effects look pretty good there too. There's Maleficent, which I've only watched one other time, very long time ago. There's Avengers: Infinity War and Endgame, which let's see, what do people think of those guys? Comment down below. What do you think of the visual effects for Infinity War and Endgame? I thought they were pretty good from what I remember. And then there's Spider-Man: No Way Home, which for other reasons, some shots were better than others. I don't think there's anything too egregious from what I remember. But yeah, Kelly Port will supervise the visual effects. Let's see. I forget if there's a cinematographer announced specifically. But yeah, there was the Sam Neill is on the cast. And then, let's see, which I'm looking forward to. This Jurassic Park and the MonsterVerse coming together. Let's see. Oh. Let's see, you got some new How to Train Your Dragon toys, it looks like. I wonder what these are. I need to get like a normal Twitter feed, but I might expose myself if I do my regular ones. Let's see. Is anyone excited for the new How to Train Your Dragon? I'm really looking forward to it. I actually really like how they're designing some of the um, dragons there. I really like the Gronkle for even if it's different. Like it's different from the movies, but I really like it. Like for the most part, I think it's okay to change things. People are allowed to not like them and critique them, but I think it's fine to change things for different adaptations. Um, I think there should be some reasons for it, but I think the reasons can be to each their own for any creator. Let's see here. Has anyone played Predator Hunting Grounds? Because I think it's been 5 years since Predator Hunting Grounds came out. I've always wanted to play that. I never got around to it, but it looked cool. It was a nice. I wish Friday the 13th was still around. The game, I played that one. That was really fun. And now I'm just going through my feed, seeing if there's anything else popping up that people are talking about. And I didn't see too many people talking about the Tremors possibilities coming back. Because let's see, Tremors reboot. If I look on Twitter, which is where I get most of the information. Well, let's see. So there's the Culture Crave tweet. And then maybe we'll just look at the article. Let's see. Let's see. Tremors reboot. Let's see. So I will share my screen again. So we'll look at an article. I don't know if this is the one, but this is from comic books. Tremors star Kevin Bacon still wants to revive series, even after Scrap TV reboot. So, let's see. This was from April 3rd, so it's a little bit ago. Kevin Bacon's Tremor didn't entirely take the world by storm when it was released. Like I said, it was pretty much a flop. Yeah, so he filmed the pilot for Tremors TV series. Yeah, it was with Sci-Fi. And they opted not to go with it, which I think is whack. And then The Bondsman. There you go. Kevin Bacon's in The Bondsman, which I don't know if it's doing well. Yeah. Yeah, because like Kevin Bacon to this day is still saying he would want to return to play Val. Yeah, like he still wants to go back to it. And I think that's awesome. It's the only film he really watched since it came out. Let's see, we made an excellent pilot outside of Albuquerque, recreated the town, and had a great casting director. Shout out to my friend Spawn of Adam. Let's see, I got to see Albuquerque, so it's a great place. Let's see, this was from back in 2020. And they said that the pilot looked good. Between funny and scary as you get to know it, that's a sweet spot. Like I said, yeah, it's like a good way to have levity and horror. And I think creature features are a good spot for that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I made 6 sequels. Wait. Okay, yeah, overall. And then the TV series was from the early 2000s. Yeah, talking about the Bondsman. Yeah, but there's another article. Hopefully, I'll find that. But yeah, Kevin Bacon is here for this game for a Tremors reboot. Let me see. Tremors reboot. Let's see. Was it Stampede Entertainment? Or well, let's see. It's co-pilot. Indeed, in the works. Okay, so yeah. So original creative team, co-writer S.S. Wilson, regained the rights to the franchise and is planning a new series or movie set perfection. Let's see. While there's interest in sequel rather than a direct remake, the Patriot was getting Kevin Bacon the lead for the original film. There you go. Screen rant. November 9th, 4. It's comicbook.com. Comicbook.com. Let me see. Comicbook.com. What's your series? Okay, we read that. There you go. This might be it. But you got Kevin Bacon. This was from April 18th. Good news for Tremors fans. Happy Entertainment. We claimed the rights. The original script was titled Beneath Perfection. Oh, I don't think I've heard that before. I know the original title was originally called Land Sharks. Is he still showing things? Oh, me. See, sure. Boom. If you're all seeing this, let's go. But yeah, I secure the film rights Beneath Perfection, which I'm forgetting if I knew that and forgot it. But I know Land Sharks was one of the original title. Mention no inspired script because secure the rights. It's fan from sure. Sappy isn't looking for outside ideas. There's no need to send them your spec script. However, they did reveal their explain possibly returns action to perfection. Locale were several for films coming portions of the first unfold. Sappy took care of the emphasis will not be a remake of the first, nor will it be based on the original script, Tremors 5. Because the idea is the feature of Tremors Kevin Bacon is fine. Yeah, no promises. Okay, but given that we know Kevin Bacon wants to return and is open to return, and technically he has returned. Release the pilot, goddammit. Yeah, and they want him. Stampede wants to bring him back, and Kevin Bacon wants to come back. So I think if they work something out, it's likely. Shermer series pilot Bacon attached in 2017, so that's where it was from. Crazy, got hopes up, yeah, I remember that. Never made development. Sci-fi Y. Ron Underwood, the original series, scripted by S.S. Wilson, Brent Maddock. Bacon, the first one featured Michael Gross, rest in peace, Fred White, Finn Carter. I hope Finn Carter's doing okay. I know she's been, I don't know, dealing with stuff lately, but I hope Finn Carter is doing good. Reba McEntire, I know she's doing well. Oh, the film, San Visit's dates. Yeah, Michael Gross, he already helmed the franchise. Yeah, so they have the rights. They're working on something. They want Kevin Bacon back, and Kevin Bacon wants to come back. So, and he has his new series. I should check out that series, but yeah, I've checked out a few of his stuff. I love Kevin Bacon. He's one of my favorite actors. Probably my favorite actor. But yeah, there's that. So let me know what you guys are thinking right now. Like, are you excited for Val coming back? Let's see here. Let's see. Who this? Okay. I'll get back to that later. But let's see if I can share my stream anywhere else. Should I go to Twitch or should I stay on YouTube? Should I be a Twitch tuber? Because I need that Twitch money. I need to beat Hassan. Let's see. I'll shell out to some of the other things here. Maybe we can get some things going. But if anyone here has anything to say on anything we've talked about so far, feel free to leave it down below. But I guess I'll take some time to talk about some of my art projects. Because, let's see, this isn't a drawcast, but like I said, I do art. Look at this cool Godzilla thing. It's an atomic Godzilla. What more can you get? Or could you want? Oops. But yeah, let's see. I do arts, lots of arts. So like that. And like this. These are some of my older pieces, but I also do commissions. And there's lots of stuff on my plate that I'm hoping either through commissions or donations through my Ko-fi. You guys can help support me there because life's getting tough. It's mostly just work stuff. Work has been a little down lately with my main job. So I'm really pushing some of my side stuff, like commissions and the YouTube page, to hopefully help promote my stuff and, get people to know my brand because I'm delving into a little bit of everything here. I am working on some stuff for my stories that I want to do. I have been in development of a novelette that I'm doing, which is basically like a large art. There's like a novelette is basically like a somewhat short story, all surrounding my main original kaiju character, Pocho. He is my own character that I developed, and I am working on a story for him, basically an origin story. And so hopefully we'll get that off the ground soon enough. It'll be somewhat of like a light novelette, featuring some illustrations and by me. But we're all working from the ground up, so hopefully you guys can show some support. Let me know if there's any questions you have about that, and or any topics we discussed today, because we're going on a little under 2 hours, so about the length of a Adam Wingard movie or a Adam Wingard Monsterverse movie, which are some of the best movies in that franchise, in my opinion. I personally love GVK, GXK. I thought they were both well done movies. My personal favorites of the Monsterverse and of any Godzilla movie outside of 98, which I don't know, because like when it comes to movies, as I've said, I tend to typically be a fan of movies that many people hate. I can't tell you why, other than those films do things that I like a lot, so I tend to have more of appreciation for them. Because like I said, I don't judge things for what they aren't, more so for what they are. I don't judge things for what they don't do, or rather what they do. If they do it well, or bad, I'll tell you. But like I said, just because they don't explore something to the fullest, or they don't do something that sounds fun, but they didn't do it, so it's bad. Like I'm not for that. This will probably be something I'll talk about for another stream that I'm planning. Like I said, I compare the Minecraft movie to GXK. TLDR, something I'll expand on, is basically when I watched the Minecraft movie, I got the impression that, like, funny enough, and maybe this is a little ironic, it felt like a speed run of a movie, in a way that really hampered my overall enjoyment, because there were things in it that I felt that could have been explored, should have been explored actually, that weren't. And I say should because other things were focused on that I think could have gone to further developing the different storylines to a point where it would have been more satisfying to see the through lines. Um, as opposed to GXK, where you have those through lines that are complete and they do have their time spent on them. So it affords more time given and more development and more investment in those storylines. But I'll go more into depth with that, maybe even discussing more with my peers and my friends down the line. Ooh, ooh, let me see here. Hmm, let me see here. Let's see. Like I said, let me know if anyone has any takes or anything there because I'd love to get a healthy discussion going. Let's see, currently live. Currently, all right, guys. Let's see. Are you team Alien or are you team Predator? Because growing up, I was always team Alien. I always rooted for the Alien whenever they had the two movies, and also any comics I would have rooted for the Alien. I just think he's a little cooler. Like I love the Predator, but the Xenomorphs they're more creature than because predators are obviously humanoid, but I'm more of a fan of creatures, so um, hopefully we'll get to see some cool stuff from that. Who are you rooting for? Let's see, I want to figure out. I don't know what's going on with the audio on this, so I would want to do more reaction stuff. I don't know why the audio wasn't going to something like this. See if anyone can hear anything at all. Let me know in the comments. Uh oh. Oh yeah. Well, I'm glad you can hear me, Kiru. Let's see here. It's mostly I was mostly referring to something like the audio of the different YouTube videos that I've been sharing here. Mostly because I don't know why, but I can't hear them on my end, or they're on the open audio of my laptop, which is strange. So I have to see if I can do that. But if you're here, like I said, let me know. You saw Tremors. Let me know if you have any thoughts about that, or even any of the other news from the Godzilla stuff. Like, are you excited for anything coming up? The feedback hub. What's that? Hmm. Let's see. Definitely excited with the two Goji films and Legacy of Monsters season 2. Yeah, I'm glad. I'm glad you're excited for some of that stuff because Yeah, it's good to see excitement. I'm excited for the two new movies too because I know. Was it confirmed? I know D-Man said or someone said it was like likely confirmed that yeah, it is a -1 sequel. So we're getting that. I think for sure we're getting that, and then there's also the upcoming GSK 3, which I know sounds promising. There's Legacy of Monsters Season 2, which I'm looking forward to as well. That seems pretty cool. I know we've seen a few set photos, um, so hopefully we'll get more intel in the coming months or so. And then yeah, the two new Predator projects. Looking forward to it. I am as well. I remember back when the Predator was coming out and when it was announced, I was super excited to be getting more Predator stuff. And now that when Prey was coming out, that was pretty cool. I really like Prey. Um, One thing I didn't like about it was that um, uh, da, 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 the ending a little bit. I think it could have had a better fight between Nora, was it, and the Predator, because I think the way the Predator dies is pretty weird. Um, as Yeah, just pretty weird there. Let's see if you're still in the chat. Let's see. Let me know if you can. Let's see if I share screen. Better balance. Let's see. Also share audio.
I'm not saying Trevor, you fun. Oh, man. Behave before you talk about what I'm talking about. We.
All right, guys, I'm Jack and Win.
Yeah, let me know if you're hearing the audio from the video, cause
Reverend GS.
And we're back with another trailer reaction.
let me know if you're hearing their video, and if you're hearing it, are you hearing it like regular audio, or is it like? Or is it like through
for
through outside audio? Because I personally can't tell. Okay, so you can hear it like regular, right? Like how I'm normally reacting.
you listen. If you watch the channel, you already know what time it is. We've done the whole pray, watch along party, all of it. Now we've got the next movie. You get me? Listen, let me get the housekeeping out of the way. Listen, if you enjoy.
Let's see here.
I didn't think you survived.
Okay. See, that's weird. Because I'm looking at the playback on the stream. Like, why can't I hear it? Or I hear it in a weird way. I don't know what that's about. Stop sharing. Boom. Oh, but thank you for the input, Kiru. Let's see. Maybe I can get my associates to help me out with that. Yeah, because I don't know why I can't. Like, I would assume like I can hear it through my regular headphones, but like I just can't. Like, it just comes off as audio from the laptop, but it's also jumbled and weird. Like I didn't hear the music playing in the background. I just heard the audio from people talking, and I don't know why. So hopefully we'll look into some of that in the coming future streams because I definitely want to get a handle on that. Yeah, streamer is something I'm semi new to because I've been using it for a while now on like all my streams. like my original interview with I believe Lee Joyner, who you can check out that. Lee Joyner was a sculptor on Godzilla '98. I got to interview him, a good friend of mine now, or like heavy acquaintance maybe. But I've been good friends with some of the people who worked on Godzilla '98, which is like a dream come true for me. But I originally hosted that on Zimzilla 99's YouTube page, and a big shout out to him for that. And ever since, Zimzilla and I have been good friends. Even beforehand, we were really good friends. And we've done lots of streams together, both here and on his channel. Go check that out, by the way. He's got some cool stuff coming up. But yeah, hopefully I can get this thing down, because I just don't understand why I can't hear the audio on my end, but it seems everyone else can. It's just really weird. Hopefully I get used to it. But StreamYard has been really helpful. I really like a lot of the features it has here. So I would recommend it if you're starting out and like maybe a nice little guide on something. But yeah, it's been really helpful. That's why I've been using it. And I can do multiple destinations from here too. So like I could probably like link. I think Zim also links to other things like Facebook and stuff. But for now, let's see what else is there to talk about. Like right now, I'm just scrolling through on Twitter, posting on Twitter. Hop on in if you have any takes or thoughts. Boom. Yeah, go check out my Twitter, by the way. I go by Vic Monstrous at Vic Monstrous or Vic's Monstrosities. You can check out all my stuff going on there. There's an update to Predator Hunting Grounds. Patch 3.4.0 has arrived. There's the Wicked Witch Predator, the deployable drone Predator gear, and some bug fixes, and an anniversary bonus. So go check that out. Yeah, I keep hearing OBS. What is OBS? I don't know what OBS is, but I hear streamers talking about it a lot. But yeah, like I've had the pleasure and the honor of becoming good friends with some of the crew members who worked on Godzilla '98. I've all met them through conventions and such, and they thankfully agreed to do interviews for the channel. I first interviewed Johnny Sacco, who has become a good friend of mine. He was a mold maker for the film. He did all the molds for all of the practical effects and stuff, like the baby Godzillas. He did the skin and the nails, the teeth, stuff like that for both things like the big animatronic, the babies, and the suit. I had like I said, I interviewed Lee Joyner, who did sculpting on the suit, and also the big animatronic. He did the sculpting for that. Oh, he was a sculptor. I interviewed Gino. Gino Esvito. I forget how you pronounce his last name, but he was one of the lead painters. So he painted the color scheme for Godzilla, and also worked with. I've met Steve Wang. I'm still trying to get an interview with him, but I've met Steve Wang on a few different occasions, and such. So I've got to know him pretty well. He did all the paints for like the baby Godzillas and such. He worked with Gino there, and then I interviewed Godzilla himself, Kurt Carley, the man in the suit. But yeah, and we're pretty good friends now as well. I've had a few email conversations through him, and I got to interview him. If you watch the interview, please forgive the audio on my end. I had a feedback loop that I did not know how to take care of at the time. But everything on his end is perfect, so please forgive my audio. But yeah, he's pretty good. Yeah, it's a software you can use to stream and record vids. I can see any screenshots of the Ubi and the. Yeah, I mean, if you want, I would appreciate it. If you want to send any pointers or screenshots, if I have you on the Discord, if you're in any of the Discords, or if you like DM me on Twitter, Instagram, whatever you got, just hit me up there. And much appreciated. Let's share for. I want to try this. Can I do this? Okay, so I did that. So apparently there's this thing. I don't know. Let's see. New to streaming or looking to level up? Check out StreamYard. Get $10 discount. Okay, cool. Then yeah, I don't know if I have you as a friend on Discord, but shoot me a friend request or anything like that, and yeah, we'll be down. But let's see here. Yeah, like I said, StreamYard get $10 discount. I guess it helps me out. So there's that. That'd be cool. Yeah, so maybe I'll start doing that. If anyone wants to check out StreamYard, I recommend it. Like I said, um, it's pretty cool. I like it. It's roomy. And in general, I love streaming because I have the most fun these days um, whenever I stream with my friends. Most of my friends that I hang out with, not that I wouldn't want to, with like my IRL friends that I have had growing up. Um, it's just that what something you learn when you grow up. I'm sure people can relate. Is that your friend groups you've grown up with tend to live separate lives. We don't hang out. Like there's no after school hangout sessions, no weekend plans, no sleepovers, no nothing, no game nights. Well, I guess you can do game nights, but it's few and far between depending on how in you are into that. But nowadays, some of my funnest times have been hanging out with my online friends doing the streams. Um, and even if like I just love conversating. And I'm as much as I say that, like anyone who knows me or has watched any of the streams with Zim and such, I'm pretty quiet. I'm pretty reserved. Although when I am inflamed and unhinged, I can get pretty wild and vocal. Um, but it's just fun, like being part of the conversation. Even if I may not have that much to say, I love listening. I'm not a talker, but I love listening. That's what makes me such a great guy. Um, I love to listen to people, hear their takes, and respond when they think I have something important to say or meaningful to say. And streaming has given me an opportunity to do that. Um, and whether you're in the room, as in the stream room, or like the stream server lobby, whatever, or if you're in the chat and you want to have a conversation through the comments, I'll respond to anything. Um, yeah, like most of my streams, like ask me anything about takes, Godzilla, stuff like that, because it is very fun. I love doing this. I want to do more of this. I'm a bit lazy, which is one of my flaws, but whenever I get down to it, because like the reason again I wanted to talk about some of the stuff here today is because I love these franchises and I want to give a spotlight to them so that I can get more from the franchise. Well, one of the things that I really want to do was talk about Tremors. Tremors is one of my, like I said, it's one of my favorite franchises. Tremors is one of my top 4 favorite films of all time, and I would like to have more films, preferably of quality. But I don't ask much. I just want it to be a nice, down to earth creature feature with some cool innovations, but keeping it down to earth. Because when it comes to Tremors, I grew up with it. I fell in love with these characters. Kevin Bacon is one of my favorite actors, like I said, and I would love nothing more than to see Kevin Bacon come back. And given that they want him to come back now that they have the rights, now that Stampede Entertainment has the rights to the Tremors movie, and they want Kevin Bacon back, and Kevin Bacon has said he wants to come back as well, I think it's a match made in heaven, and they should go for it. I think I think you can push Tremors to the status of one of these bigger franchises because I don't think anyone would disagree that Tremors is like this one of the big franchises. It's nothing compared to AVP or Alien Predators, Xenomorphs, whatever. It's sort of like I said, a cult fan base. And the one thing I want to shout out is again, if you're like in the local LA area, let me see if I can find it. But they are doing a Tremors reunion. So I'm gonna go mask off just for a second, since I don't have a picture of it. But let's see. I'm gonna start cam. The light. But yeah, like they're doing a Tremors reunion. Sadly, I most likely won't be able to go because I'm gonna be busy that weekend. But if you're in the Pasadena area and you like Tremors, or you just like Pasadena Comic Con, they're doing a Tremors reunion. When I saw that, I was hyped, but like I said, sadly, I probably won't be able to go. But give them some love. I know Michael Gross is going to be there. I think the people who are in charge of it, who worked on the film, some people like that. Maybe Rebo might show up. Hopefully, I hope Kevin Bacon shows up. East Coast. That's the thing. Most of my friends are East Coasters or like mountain coasters, whatever. So it's weird because everyone's like more often than not, whenever I hop on a stream of one of my friends, they're always talking about how like, oh, it's midnight and it's like barely like 9:30 for me. So it's super strange that most of my friends are East Coasters. So there's that. Let's see. All right, let's see here. There's another tweet regarding Predator and the new Predator franchise. The controversy over the new Predator design is without doubt the biggest pile of whiny bitch syndrome to come out of film trailer in a long time. I don't know if it's the teenage Predator or female Predator, which people have been discussing, by the way, whether or not it's female. But no, it is confirmed male. It's just a slimmer look, but this is not the first time the Predator has looked different. Which, granted, I agree, and I've mentioned it before. It's not the first. All the Predators have had unique looks to them. But my only thing would be, yes, there's a lot of controversy and a lot of like bad takes, I'd say. But for the most part, I would agree that some of the things from this design are pretty hit or miss. Like I said, I've shared what I would have rather seen from past concept art regarding the style of look they wanted to go for. But yeah, I think we shouldn't rag on like the artists or rag on the people who like it or people who don't like it either. Now let's see here. Let's see, is there anything? Let's see. Should I do some reaction content? No. Okay, let's see. Well, let's just go to. Let's see. Are any of our Godzilla people? Do you guys react to things or know about things outside of the Godzilla sphere? For example, the Ethan Klein Hassan drama going on. Let's see. It sounds like the Predator is one of the younger individuals that was cast out for some reason, so I'm fine with the different looks. I'm glad it isn't recently blooded to Elite Warriors this time. Yeah, I think having a young blood, which I think is what they're called generally in the expanded canon, I think it's a cool approach. Because it offers a pretty good story of how, like, the Predators. Because, I mean, technically speaking, the Predators from AVP were young bloods, from what I know. I know people are, I know people have some qualms with the way they were portrayed, as in, they're probably like the biggest Predators we've seen outside of the Super and the Upgrade Predator. Because they were very bulky, which I don't think is bad. I think it's pretty cool. But the one we have here, Deck, which is his name. Deck is a young blood. That's how they describe him in, I think, some of the interviews and stuff and the synopsis. He is an outcast, or he was banished from the tribe or something. And so yeah, I'm not knocking it for that. I'm just saying I have a few nitpicks with the way they designed the head and the body type. Like, I think there should have been more done to emphasize that he is a Yautja. Because, like I said, when you see him move, sometimes it looks too much like just a guy. And design wise, he looks like, just a guy with a predator head. And I think the profile is thrown off by the specific way they arranged the quills or the dreads. I think if they did something, like I said, with like the sharper stylized widow peak, like and anyone here, let me know what you think of this design as well, because like, do you prefer this or do you prefer what we're getting? Because the way the quills are arranged there, I think that's a pretty cooler look. Even if you had like I said, if you elongate the length of the quills up top on the head that go down to the widow's peak, you can elongate that into like a ponytail and still have that style, but keep it in line with what the predators typically look like. Because like I said, all of the predators look different. Yeah, it looks pretty awesome. This is concept art for Prey, so this is like a concept of what the feral predator could have looked like. But if you look at the this was specifically from a tweet here that was like from Yautja Hype Guy. This was like before the trailer came out, I think, because it says no trailer yet. But apparently, the drawing on the left is from the '87 film. From what it's implying here. And then, like I said, the one on the right is from Prey. So the idea of having the quills or dreads be further up on the, like, beyond the forehead is a concept that I guess isn't new. And having stylized dreads is something that we've seen on things like, I think, some comics, figures, and stuff. So it's nothing new, but it's also like, I think there's ways it could have been executed better. Because I don't like the image from the '87 concept art. I don't like the way it looks there. I do like how it looks, like I said, on the Prey concept art. And when it comes to Deck and the final design they're going for, like I said, I don't have any problems with it. I don't think it's bad. I think it could have been better, and I think in some ways it should have, in order to better emphasize the fact that this is a young Yautja. And I think it should have been some different takes on how it's portrayed. But I'm not gonna be mad about it. I'm not gonna take it to the extreme where I'm gonna say, "Oh, this is a trans femme predator or something," because that's taking it too far. I don't think it's that bad. I don't think anyone should take it as such. Because I saw there were people like, "Oh, it's just a female predator," or trans femme predator, whatever. But no, it's just a young blood, and while I agree that should have been some adjustments, like maybe it's just like a little more bulky, or if it moved a little differently, or if like the arrangement of the face was a little different, because it sort of looks like something weird's going on with the head, where the quills meet the brow, or the hairline, quote unquote. Because like I said, they're not supposed to be treated as like hairs. They're like tendrils. They have nerves. Because they're not hair. They're sensory organs. Those things on the head are to help with things like balance. Yeah, like if you look through Twitter, which is never really that much of a good thing, you'll see takes like those. Like, they're calling this the trans femme predator, which is like crazy in my opinion. Like, I don't think you have to go that far. And just some weird takes. Some weird takes. But yeah, like there's things I like about the design. I think it's cool. There's things I would have done differently. But it is what it is. I'm not gonna knock it. I'll knock -1 because I don't like the design. I just take it for what it is. And so there's that again. Let's see here. So yeah, so obviously you can see there's like differing opinions. And I'm looking at some cool art of Predator stuff now. But yeah, it's cool to see there's Predators back in the limelight. But let's not take it to such extremes to where we're, harping on things that I don't think are necessary. Let's see if it's a clan-wide style. Let's see the general arrangement. It's just for the clan-wide style. That's an interesting question because we do know that one of the predators we see in the trailer. Let's see here. Share screen. YouTube. Yeah, share. Let's see here. And then let's see. Maybe I'll lower the volume a little bit. Because I also don't want to get copyright. For the music. Okay, so we obviously have this guy, which I'm assuming is like an elder predator. And he kind of looks like the one from the toy line, if you know the elder predator there. Kind of looks like that guy. But I don't think it's like that guy. Because we see here that so yeah, his quills are white and they're arranged pretty normally. So this guy has the arrangement of like the usual predators where they go along the sides from what we see. And if you notice as well, I mentioned this earlier, but if you look at the thickness of the dreads here, they're sort of more similar to the way the feral predator has them, where they're like thinner. Where normal, the average predators that we've seen so far, their dreads are pretty thick. And like I said, they're more like sensory organs. And if you look here, at this scene particularly, that is not the same predator, and I think that's his brother. I think in the synopsis we get from or where I see on Twitter and videos mentioning it, I think that's his brother. Because I think we're going to see, because look, it's not the one we saw before, and like clearly there's a size difference, and I think it's explained in some of the synopses or the articles that this is Deck's brother. So we're going to see other predators. So we know we have that elder guy, and then we have Deck's brother, and then we have Deck himself. And then somehow Deck is going to get involved with the Weyland-Yutani Corporation. So that's interesting. And that's going to be where the setup for the AVP is going to come in. So like I said, we're sort of getting the Space Marines versus the Predators in this one. And it seems like the Weyland-Yutani group is trying to find the Predator now, which is interesting. Why is Weyland-Yutani after them aliens? So that's interesting. So maybe it might be kind of just like a him thing. Like maybe that's just the way Deck has his hairstyle, quote unquote. But it's like I don't think it's a bad hairstyle. I just think the way they executed it could have been different. Because I think you can do it while still keeping it in line with what we've seen of most predators, even like the super predators or the upgrade predator. It's like, let's see. Let me see if I can pull up some artwork I've been working on regarding the. Because yeah, like I think you can have that hairstyle and still make it have it look good. To say, not that I think it's inherently bad. Because I think you can do some cool things with that kind of thing. You can do different things, but they still have to look good. And I think either way, you can still have people like it or not. Let's see here. Alrighty, so let's see, we're hitting on. So we went over the 2 hour mark, we're going on 2:30. So let's see, for the rest of the night, I'll just be throwing out a general inquiry. Like any other takes or opinions on anything so far that we've talked about or that you'd want my take on? Anything you've heard in the grapevine that you want to share? Whether it be Godzilla, Predator, Alien, or Tremors. Because I think I'll probably just go for the next 30 minutes unless anyone hops on. Because, like I said, there's an upcoming stream I want to do. I'll probably be doing it Saturday evening, which will be a marked comparison for Minecraft movie and GSK. And then there's also going to, I might do some more upcoming things. Maybe I'll schedule more drawcasts, although I might have to check on the internet status of that because my internet is laggy. So doing the screen sharing thing, it's going to be a hassle. But hopefully I'll be getting more. Let's see. I started to write a random Tremor script that's set in Pennsylvania. That's the only thing I can think of to mention. Well, that's cool. They have stuff for that. Yeah, maybe I can do a thing where I organize, because I know Zim does the kaiju rights and stuff and the pitches and stuff. Maybe either we can work on doing some like a broader sense kind of thing. That's cool. Because yeah, I definitely have my own Tremors concepts. Because like I have a Tremors in Yellowstone concept, and stuff. So I think that would be pretty cool. But yeah, because I think you can do a lot of things with the Tremors franchise. Like I said, you can put it in any area and have it be whatever stakes you want and stuff. And you can explore the lore and do different things. That's why I heavily recommend you get the Ultimate Collection or get the TV series at least, because that's a cool show that expands on the lore of Tremors. Because there's Tremors lore if you don't know. There's an episode even where like it sort of calls back to the whole Earl thinking the graboids are from space. It sort of, in a weird way, makes a callback to that. Yeah, that's good. That's good that you have the TV series and all the films. Yeah. So that'll probably be it for now. I'll probably wait for when we get to 2:25. So I'll do a little bit of an outro, and unless anyone suddenly joins, we'll probably go on for a little bit more discussions. But in the meantime, this has been Kaijunaut's Variety Hour. please do follow me on all my socials. Vic Monstrous on Twitter. Crispy Vic on other platforms. Check out my Ko-fi page where I do commissions for kaiju and character illustrations. If you want fan art of your favorite kaiju or character, or if you want me to bring one of your original characters to life, I can do that for you. I do things like I said, kaiju creature character design. Um, I offer different things you can have it with a kaiju battle scene. There's like different settings I can do for you. I'm working on doing more backgrounds and such, so that'll be cool. Check out all my stuff on my art pages. That's where I do a lot of my showcasing stuff, and I also do shout outs. There is a membership tier for anyone in the for Kofi, where different memberships get you different things like shout outs, access to like a personal Discord of mine, where like I just feature some stuff, um, exclusive art as well. And then there's a tier where like you can get like bi-monthly illustrations, um, where like twice a month you can get personalized art of anything you request, and you also get access to make suggestions for the drawcast. Um, yeah, let's see. We'll do the whole Kaiju Writing Showcase thing when I'm able to, because yeah, yeah. I would definitely say keep up to date with Zim because I know he's wanting to do lots more streams, for both original and established Kaiju media. Um, so keep an eye on that. I'll probably be in there too, most likely. So yeah, so keep tabs on either of us, and then as well as that, let's see, just keep up to date on my YouTube. I post speed paints. Hopefully, I can get back to doing some interviews. I need to reach out to some of my friends there that I mentioned. Uh, I really want to do one with Johnny again, so stay tuned for that. Hopefully. Um, and with all that being said, thank you very much for joining me. Thank you, Brother Kuru. I will check out that friend request on Discord, so we can chat there sometimes. Or if you want to send me anything like that, feel free to. And then as well, big thanks again for chatting today. Everyone who came on, who stuck by me, it was a pleasure. So until next time, Kaiju Seekers, over and out. Till next time.